Hello wonderful interpreters, and thank you again for tuning in. In this video, I will briefly talk about our Zoom meeting with PERC this morning, and you will see more shocking public disclosure documents from L&I. So let's get started. Earlier today, we had our pre-hearing Zoom call with PERC, as we have informed you before, and you can see it here. Our unfair labor practice hearing will take place next month on September 13th, 14th, and 16th. The meeting this morning was moderated by Michael Schneider from PERC, which is the examiner, and he will be determining the outcome of our unfair labor practice hearing. I was given permission to record the whole thing, by the way, and I will be covering what we discussed in detail in the next upcoming video. Now, in my last video, I shared with you this document showing how Leroy Mold submitted a proposal for the L&I request for proposals for the L&I contract. Many interpreters reached out to me afterwards asking me, how did I obtain this? Because this clearly proves the glaring conflict of interest that we have been talking about. And you know me, I'm always happy to oblige, so allow me to show you. Well, you see, we have made multiple public disclosure requests to L&I for the last couple of years, and these installments come as PDF documents with hundreds of pages at the time sometimes. I have personally read thousands of pages already from these records, since that's part of my responsibility here at Washington Interpreters. And let me tell you, I do discover more things about WFSE every time, things that I didn't even know from back when I was with them. I'm going to show you some of the things that I have isolated from the most recent installment. Take a look at this invitation from Milena Calderari-Waldron, a WFSE Local 1671 leader, to Perla Gamboa from L&I. Now, I want you to see this. This is from March 12, 2018, on the heels of the legislative process that year. This WFSE Local 1671 leader is inviting Perla from L&I to present to their union, Local 1671, on L&I's process of filing a claim for workers? What? Why would she want interpreters to know about that, since it is out of scope of practice for interpreters? See, WFSE leaders do like to accuse longtime L&I interpreters of being unethical just for being familiar with this process. As you can see here, Milena sits at the DSHS Advisory Committee alongside other WFSE leaders with Karen Jost from L&I and other committee members. They shape the rules for all L&I interpreters and interpreters in general, actually. They decide what's ethical and what's not, and they do have the power to decertify you as well. Yet, their own rules don't ever seem to apply to them. These rules apply to everybody else, but not to them. So pay attention to how L&I got concerned with Milena's request from back then. Here, Karen Jost, who is the L&I's Health Services Program Manager and who sits with Milena at the DSHS Advisory Committee, she says that she's concerned, saying that how L&I contracts with interpreters is about to change and that the claim filing process is out of scope for the interpreters. She also says here that it's very easy to cross the line into advocacy, and apparently L&I didn't want to do that. They're worried about quote-unquote unintended consequences. But let's continue. See, a few months later, here on June 7th, 2018, Tim Tharp from WFSE requested a meeting with L&I, so here we go. A meeting, it's about to happen, right? Melanie from L&I, though, says they're meeting with HR about this, right? Well, let's see. Now, I want you to read with me, starting at the bottom of the page. Here, they're talking about meeting with WFSE on August 1st because WFSE wants to know how L&I plans on implementing the law. Okay, now let's read from the top of the page. L&I staff is already reacting to this, saying that they need to get guidance from HR, Human Resources, before scheduling this meeting because a WFSE Council representative approached Melanie from L&I, questioning what she said in their HR meeting. Quote, "It felt more like a strategy approach," end quote, she adds here. Just a couple of days later, Melanie from L&I emailed Karen Jost and others explaining how she pressed the union organizer to reveal his intentions about the meeting with L&I. She explains that he denied it was about organizing, but rather to get more information about the legislation, to then later admit to organizing in light of the legislation. Remember to pause this video at any time in order to read the information that you see on the screen. So continuing with this, Melanie also said that this organizer drove by unexpectedly, but she was in a meeting. However, this WFSE organizer still called someone upstairs instead in order to schedule a meeting when Melanie told them that it was a bit premature to be meeting. Once again, guys, WFSE leaders have no respect of rules or protocols and won't take no for an answer. You cannot make this up. I'm pretty sure some of you have received an email from WFSE asking for your mailing address. Oh yeah, they're gonna knock on your doors and be this obnoxious when you do not answer because they have no respect for you. They're gonna be nagging at you, so you open the door and they get to continue their propaganda. So be careful with what you do. Let's keep reading here. So this situation actually escalated. Fast forward a few days later to July 11th, 2018, and let's read from the bottom of the page, okay? Billy Wright from L&I emailed Joe Sachs, their director, about this meeting. Billy here reached out to OFM, the Office of Financial Management, about meeting with the union. Here is how this gets interesting. Robin Vasquez from OFM strongly advised L&I not to do this. Robin checked with PERC to see if WFSE had filed to represent this group, referring to L&I Interpreters, but they had not. You know this. Meaning other unions would want to represent interpreters, and if L&I meets with WFSE, it could look like they are favoring WFSE and they needed to remain neutral. Ha! But you know, it's fascinating to me to see how L&I ignored OFM's advice and still met with WFSE Local 1671 representatives multiple times after this. They illegally changed our working conditions. They favored WFSE's agenda when they still do not represent L&I interpreters today. You cannot make this up. Now, fast forward to July 30th, 2018. Here, Karen Jost is saying that L&I needs to be transparent with the union, but she also believes they will have information that will help them achieve the objectives Joe, meaning Joe Sachs, explained to them that day, clearly opening the door to working together with WFSE leaders to implement these changes. Now, is this still looking like a conspiracy theory to you? Look at this. All of a sudden, Karen Jost is not concerned about crossing the line into advocacy anymore, huh? In closing, you have seen the evidence, and you know that we always show you the real facts. And the reality is that WFSE and L&I cannot deny this astronomical conflict of interest anymore. So how are WFSE Local 1671 leaders taking this? They're doing what they always do. They are now trying to change the narrative, justifying their mistakes, and issuing more propaganda. So they are doing what they do best. They misrepresent the facts, they lie about their agenda, and they manipulate the events that led to the actual state of things that we have today. But as you have clearly seen, we will have our unfair labor practice hearing next month, where L&I will have to answer for changing our working conditions illegally while in the middle of our election process. The Public Employment Relations Commission, commonly known as PERC, will be the entity that will decide the outcome of the hearing, regardless of what WFSE wants to say. So from our end, we will keep on fighting for a true and fair dual system. And as we have shown you before, we have the lead by far. So we will establish a real, true, and fair system once we win the upcoming election. So please stay tuned for the next video where you will learn more about our pre-hearing Zoom meeting earlier this morning. We will also be talking about much more. The next video update will be uploaded within the next few days. Find instructions in the description box below to send us your signed card. Like this video and subscribe to our channel in order to keep on getting more relevant information for our interpreting community. See you in the next video. Do not lose hope, and as always, God bless.